That's not the only news around Eskom today. Earlier this afternoon, the energy regulator Nersa postponed an announcement on whether it was due to give Eskom the all-clear to introduce massively increased power tariffs. The power utility was going to ask for a 32% increase. But now, we don't know what increase is going to happen. Hasha Tlhotlhalemaje is the General Manager for Regulation at Eskom. Hasha, good afternoon to you, and I do appreciate the time. I know you are to speak to us about Nersa, but I do need to try and ask you about Andre de Ruyter. As a senior executive at Eskom, have you been given any formal notification of his status at the moment?
No, we haven't. We've seen it on the news.
I would imagine that he's quite important to Eskom.
I guess so, yes.
I can see I'm not going to get any further.
Any chief executive would, yes.
All right, I can see I'm not going to get any further, but I thought it was worth a try. Thank you. Nersa was supposed to make this announcement today. It's a really important announcement for everyone who uses electricity, which is everyone, and it's a really important announcement for Eskom. Have you been told why the delay by Nersa?
Well, we do listen into the public hearings. I mean, the meetings are where the public can attend. So we did listen to them earlier today, and they felt that there were a few gaps that needed to be addressed, and a lot more work needed to be done. And they were making 3 different decisions. And so the main decision was on the revenue for financial year 24 and 25. And they said that there was 14 areas where more work needed to be done. And therefore they needed more time to be able to do that. And they are aware that one of the court orders requires them to make a decision by no later than the 24th of December this year. So in essence, it means the 23rd of December, which is the end of next week. So they are acutely aware of that as well. But they said that they will have a project plan together by the end of today, and then they will decide on the way forward.
So it sounds like they're going to be burning the midnight oil. You need to know, don't you? I mean, you need to know exactly how much money you're going to get. We know how desperate the situation is because you don't have money for diesel.
Yes, but obviously this is applicable only from the 1st of April of 2023 onwards. So it would give us an indication of what they have approved in our application of the 32% that we have made.
Why 32%? How did you come to that figure? Why do you believe that is the amount that you need?
Okay, maybe just to provide some history. First of all, Eskom applies in terms of a methodology which is called the multi-year price determined methodology. That is a Nersa methodology. So these are the rules of the game that Eskom applies, and Nersa uses it to make its determination. Now, what happened was Eskom had made a 3-year application that included this financial year and the subsequent 2 financial years. But because of some apparent changes in Nersa, in terms of methodology, they only made a 1-year decision. So in an application for the first year, Eskom had applied for approximately 20%, and Nersa made a 9.61% increase. So because of that shortfall, that obviously increases the percentage increase for the subsequent year, and the original was 15%, and because of other further changes, it moved from 15% plus the 10% plus some changes, and therefore it landed at 32%.
In the past, you've asked for increases, sometimes coming to figures close to this, and generally speaking, you've been given less than 10%. What happens if that happens again?
No, that is going to be a very, very difficult situation, because we need to keep in mind that if the consumer doesn't pay for the electricity, then the taxpayer pays. So we are talking only here about efficient costs. That's what Nersa must determine, what is the level of the efficient cost of producing the electricity. And what we do not recover from the consumer will have to be recovered from the government, and that in essence means the taxpayer. So it is not a good model to continue in this situation. We do understand that it is a migration towards a state where consumer will pay the full price of its electricity. We are not there yet. And so the longer that Nersa gives lower and lower increases, the longer it's going to take to reach that particular level. So that is the unfortunate situation that we are in at the moment.
All right, okay. There are a lot of different things that are happening. I don't need to tell you, Hasha, there are so many moving parts in the energy system at the moment. One of them is an announcement by the Finance Minister in his medium-term budget policy statement that government would take between 1/3 and 2/3 of Eskom's debt onto sovereign debt levels. Is that factored into your application or not? Because I'm a journalist, but even I know 30% of 400 billion rands is a huge amount of money.
Yes, obviously there are interdependencies, but the way that the application is made, it's made in terms of the MYPD methodology, which is the multi-year price determined methodology. It looks at what are the efficient costs. And we must keep in mind that Eskom has not asked for the full return on assets as far as the levels are concerned. So we are supposed to be getting what is called the weighted average cost of capital. That's how much it costs to basically borrow the money, which is closer to 10% as Nersa has determined. But Eskom has only applied for around 1.5 to 1.8%. So that is the way that we are migrating towards a level where we can recover the efficient costs. So as debt situation, etc., will have some interplay. Both those issues must happen so that some kind of a determination can happen. We do not know as to how much of the debt is going to be taken over, but we are still trying. We are still migrating towards that level. So that debt will continue, even though it needs to be recovered from somewhere, and that is where the consumer needs to pay for the service that it's getting.
Hasha Tlhotlhalemaje, thank you, General Manager for Regulation at Eskom. Really do appreciate the time this afternoon on the